So I'd like to kind of puttering around in the shop here, and one of the things that I've been kind of wanting to do, but it's not a full-blown project itself, is kind of just fix up this one Craftsman mini hatchet that I got. I had it in a video. I can't remember if I had it in my Craftsman collection video or if it was in one of my Follow Me Home videos, but this is one that I found on eBay, and it actually come with this, what I believe to be an original leather sheath, which is pretty cool. I like the sheath, and got a good deal on it, especially if you follow the market and know what these go for. I got that one for actually really cheap, so figured it would be a fun little project, especially because this mini hatchet, this Craftsman one, was given to me by a very good friend of mine. Known him a very long time, and this one is just so original. I've always never really wanted to use it or touch it or modify it in any kind of way, just because it is so original. And that, just see how elegant that camera will focus. See how elegant that old handle is. Just a really neat little hatchet. Still feels really good, and they are really useful hatchets too. I can see them being useful for camping and fishing, even hunting if you're trying to split open a rib cage or pelvis, something like that. I've heard them referred to as tackle box hatchets too. I think it'd be a great use for it, especially with how small the head is. You can really choke up on it and get some fine detailed carving and whatnot. So anyways, I'm clearly an axe addict, so I find all kind of justifications as to buy more axes and different kinds. But so I had originally had this one. This one came with that original sheath, so I kind of like the idea of pairing the really original ones together, kind of leaving that original sheath, or moving this original sheath to this original Craftsman that's unmodified. And the seller that had sold this on eBay, I believe they were the one that had polished this. It's close to a mere polish, but not quite. There's certain axes that look really cool polished. I don't know. I'm just not a huge fan of it. So I've always kind of been under the impression that I was going to blue this, even when I saw it online and was bidding on it and won. This one is still the original handle, but again, the head was modified and polished up. So what I'm going to do in this video is scuff this head up just slightly with a nice even scratch pattern, just to take some of that shine off it, and then use some cold blue, and then also oil up the handle, because the handle is very dry, so I think that'll darken up nicely with some boiled linseed oil. And since I did move that original sheath or mask over to that original Craftsman, I did make a nice little leather sheath for it, so fits nice and snug. It's got one of those little brass stud closures. I used to do snaps, and I've become a much bigger fan of these. They're a lot easier to do. I've had a lot better luck with them. So camera's fighting me on focusing, but yeah. So I'm a fan of these little hatchets. This is my Vaughn one. That sheath's kind of like a fake plasticky leather one, but this is the one I've actually used the most, and got a really nice edge on it. But it's been really fun to use, so I think it'd be fun to get that Craftsman one kind of fixed up to the point where I'd want to do some carving or whatnot with that. Before I get too far into it, if you guys aren't familiar with a mini hatchet, I know it's really hard to tell online, like the scale. I mean, you can kind of tell by my hand that that's pretty small, but to compare it to a size of something that you're more familiar with, this is a standard carpenter's axe. I did end up bobbing the hammer on that because it was one I got at a flea market and it was really chipped, but like I said, that's a standard carpenter's hatchet, and just look how small this is in comparison to it. If you guys know what like a Tommy axe is, here's a Belknap version, which is actually a really cool one. Belknap all-purpose. But again, size comparison, they're just so small in comparison to like standard hatchet size hatchets that you'd think, you know, full-size hatchets. And the all-purpose or the Tommy axes are on the bigger side for a hatchet, that's for sure. But think about a standard carpenter's hatchet. You know, they're a lot smaller. So, figured a little size comparison might help for some of you guys that maybe have never put hands on one of these or seen one in person. So, let's get some frame of reference. All right, enough of me rambling. Start working. What I've got here is just a wooden, essentially like a paddle. And then I've got a small section of leather glued on, and I've got some. It's just a big roll of 400 grit sandpaper that has an adhesive backing. I got this on Amazon. I think the brand is, looks like it's Duragold. No, not familiar with it, but it seems to work great. Like I said, it's a big roll, and it was pretty inexpensive. I like that it has the adhesive back on it. A little tricky to get off, but it's handy because you can stick it to a little pad like this and have kind of a soft backing where you're not. A lot of times with issues when you're hand sanding, you'll have the pressure points underneath the pads of your fingers, and you're going to wear it kind of unevenly. Whereas if you've got an even backing like this, it feels like you get a little bit better control and kind of get into some places easier. So 400 grit. I'm not sure what the previous owner had kind of like polished it to. Looks like they probably took it to a buffing wheel. Hopefully they didn't ruin the temper with a buffer, but we'll see. After I kind of get it sanded up and blued, we will try to sharpen it, and we should be able to tell more about the temper then. So, but in order to get a good bluing, a good finish bluing, just keep even scratch patterns along the length of the axe or hatchet. Looks like they had some decent scratch pattern going before, but again, not a fan of the polishing on this head at least. So try to make it a little more in line with what I like. So I'm going to throw a little bit of tape on the handle just because I do like the patina on it. I already scuffed it up a little bit. I really don't want to scuff it up more because I like to try to keep as much of that as possible. Again, what I'm trying to do here is not polish it. I'm really just trying to make a more even surface finish that's got a little bit more tooth to it. So when I do blue it, it's not going to look as shiny. So hopefully it'll look a little bit more matte. So that's the goal. But behind that mattness, I want to have like a nice even scratch pattern. At least that's what I'm trying for. Who knows? It might be a colossal failure, but we'll keep going with it. See, this is the side I haven't touched yet. Whereas this is the side as that more even scratch pattern. Probably driving people crazy and holding it upside down, but yeah. So the side that's kind of got evened out. And I'm not worried too much about the edge because I'm going to sharpen it and probably put like a little bit of a banana grind on there, but yeah. So I just took some of that shine off it, give it a more even scratch pattern just from end to end. Hopefully that'll help take the bluing better too. And also, like, sanding the surface like that does expose fresh metal, so it should look better too when you blue it. You don't have to worry about as many oils or anything like that. And I'm going to hit it with some brake cleaner too, but anytime there's already been chemical reaction happening with the steel, you know, like, because bluing is just really controlled rusting. So if you already have some kind of patina forming on there, when you go to blue it, you're never really sure how it's going to act unless you've got some bare metal. So yeah, so it should look nicer and more uniform. Alright, I'm going to call that good for the sanding. Put some gloves on because I really don't want the oils from my hands, you know, getting on the surface of the axe, and then when we go to blue it, that oil print a layer from that chemical reaction happening. So throw some gloves on, come back, get it with some brake cleaner, make sure any other residual oils are off the bad. Alright, so got my gloves on, a little bit of steel wool here. I'm just going to clean this up as best as I can. Alright, it's looking pretty good to me. So put the brake cleaner away and go get my my stuff for bluing. And be right back. Alright, so basically what I need for bluing, or what I use for bluing, is just some Birchwood Casey Perma Blue. There's some stuff out there that's a little bit thicker. I have not tried that. This is the only stuff I've tried. It's getting kind of nasty because it's getting old, but now that our surface is all prepped and clean, should be as oil free as possible. We've just got a large cotton swab here. Completely saturate that, and you'll be impressed to see how quick, if you've never seen cold bluing work, just how quick it changes the color of the steel. So if you can see, there's all kinds of different colors and stuff in there. It's kind of a cool look, but in order to get it to even out a bit more, I like taking a little bit of that same steel wool, just kind of scuffing up the surface again. And you can leave that cold blue on it still. Doesn't really seem to matter much. Kind of scuff it up, clean it off, expose some of that fresh steel underneath. Come at it again. Hit it again, helps even it out. And you can do multiple coats of it. In theory, the more coats you do, the darker it'll get. In my experience, it does seem to kind of cap out at a certain point, but yeah. In my mind, that looks a lot better than the polished head that it was before. So. A little more solution in here. I do apologize. I know the lighting's not best right here. I'm kind of casting a bunch of shadows on the head, but working with what I got. And you can see that temper line where, at least where it was originally tempered. Hopefully, because it's still showing up, temper's still there. But. Like I said, I found going over with that steel wool just kind of helps even everything out more. You may still get some of that kind of like rainbow effect, but it makes it a lot more consistent. I'll clean it up with a little bit of a Windex here. Alright, clean up here and unwrap it, and then we can start focusing on the handle. So hopefully you guys can kind of tell the difference. I'm happy with how that how dark that came out. You can definitely still see the temper line. It's kind of cool. Got nice and dark. You can see hitting it with that steel wool really evened it out afterwards. But I'm happy with how the scratch pattern came out. I'm glad I took the time to do that rather than just bluing it straight away, because if I'd have blued it right away, it would just come out too shiny, where this is more matte, which I like the look of. So unwrap this, kind of get the full effect of the bluing. You know, the blue tape's kind of distracting, so with the purple gloves, but yeah. Honestly, this handle feels pretty good as it is, but I'm going to hit it with just a little bit of steel wool, just to kind of knock any like fibers on there that are a little bit sticking out a little bit, and kind of burnish it out a little bit. Knock any of that dirt that we just had on there off from sanding. So. Yeah, I'm not going to go crazy with it because I do want to keep that patina. Try to get you guys some better, real close ones of it. You can see some of that original Craftsman stamp. It's pretty cool. Again, they knew what they were doing back in the day. Really nice grain orientation, and even on the hatchet this small, you can see 0 run out. That grain follows it all the way end to end. Alright, so since I'm going to use my bare hands, I've got boiled linseed oil, but I've also got walnut oil, which is also a polymerizing oil. So I'll go grab that and throw that on here. So this is Mahoney's heat-treated walnut oil. This is also a polymerizing oil, just like boiled linseed oil. So it will harden when it polymerizes. But this doesn't have a lot of the hard metal additives that they add as dryers. I haven't personally had any bad experience with the boiled linseed oil, but I know people don't recommend getting it on your skin, so I'm trying to be better about it, and I'm using that. I'm trying to put gloves on, but I don't feel like wearing gloves for it, so try this out. This does take a little bit longer to dry, I believe, but I have used this before. Personally, I really haven't noticed any difference than boiled linseed oil. It seems to work pretty much the same in my experience. I think linseed oil might seem like it forms a little bit thicker of a coat, but that almost might just be because it dries a little quicker too. So yeah, grab a rag and clean some of this up. I'm very happy with how that came out. You can see that Craftsman stamp still looks super clean. I was kind of careful not to go too crazy with sanding. I know it was just 400 grit, but I really don't want to lose any detail in that stamp. And using a flat pad like this also helps keep everything nice and easy and consistent when you're sanding something like that. Yeah, I think it looks good. Definitely happy with how the little project came out. So let me know what you guys think. If you'd kept it polished or polished it further, but I like the blued look. The original patina would have been my first choice, but yeah, neat little hatchet. I lied, I wasn't done. Figured I'd show you with it. Show you it with the sheath. I think that blued and leather combo just looks super nice together. The blue pops against the copper, so yeah, I like it. Give you a little close up of the sheath if you're curious how it's kind of constructed. So the front piece which bends around to the back here, the back piece which bends around to the back, 2 rivets where the pole would be. And I do have a welt in this sheath too, so this is technically 3 pieces. But the original did not have a welt in it. Alright, now I'm done.